I was driving down Interstate 45, heading back to Houston for what my mother called the biggest family reunion we had ever had. More than 50 relatives were flying in from all over the country. My hands gripped the steering wheel a little tighter than usual. It had been months since I last saw my parents, my two older brothers. Part of me hoped this time would be different. That maybe, just maybe, I would finally feel like I belonged. But I had no idea that, in just a few hours, my father would say something that would make me disappear completely. Before I tell you what happened at that reunion, I would love to know where you are watching this from. Drop your location in the comments below. Hit that like button and subscribe if you want to hear how a single sentence can change everything. Now, let me take you back to the moment my entire world shattered. Let me paint you a picture of where I came from. My father, Douglas, built his construction empire from the ground up in Houston. He owned one of the largest commercial building companies in Texas. My mother, Patricia, stayed home, kept the house perfect, made sure everything looked good from the outside. Then there were my brothers. Blake, the oldest, at 35, was being groomed to take over the company. Everyone called him the golden child. Aaron, 32, became a partner at one of the most prestigious law firms in the state. Both of them were exactly what my father wanted. Then there was me, Gerard, 28 years old, the one nobody planned for. My mother was 42 when she got pregnant with me. I heard the whispers growing up even if nobody said it directly to my face. I was the accident, the surprise, the one that came too late. The signs were always there looking back. I just did not want to see them when I was younger. Every year Blake got these massive birthday parties. Rented venues, catered food, sometimes even live bands. Aaron got the same treatment. Their birthdays were events. Mine was a cake on the kitchen table, just the five of us and my parents looking at their watches like they had somewhere better to be. School was another story. Both my brothers went to St. Stephen's Episcopal, this fancy private academy, where tuition cost more than most people made in a year. I asked my father once why I could not go there too. He looked at me over his newspaper and said, "Public school builds character. You will be fine." Blake and Aaron never had to build a character, apparently. They got the best education money could buy. Our house was huge. 6 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, a game room, a pool. Blake had the master bedroom on the 2nd floor with his own bathroom and a balcony. Aaron had the one right next to it, almost as big. My room was on the 1st floor, tucked away near the garage. It was small, barely fit my bed and a desk. I could hear the garage door opening and closing all day long. Nobody seemed to think that was strange. Every summer my family took these incredible trips, Europe mostly. I remember being 9 years old watching them pack for 2 weeks in Italy. I asked if I was going. My father said, "Not this time, champ. We need to watch the budget." That same trip, I found out later, cost them nearly $20,000. But adding one more plane ticket for me was too expensive. I stayed with my grandmother. This happened every single year until I turned 18. The walls in our house told the whole story if you knew how to read them. Dozens of framed photos lined the hallway and the living room. Blake in his football uniform. Aaron at his law school graduation. Blake and Aaron with my parents at some gala. The 4 of them on a beach in Greece. I counted once. Out of 37 photos, I appeared in 3. 3. And in those 3, I was barely visible, standing at the edge of the frame like I was photobombed my own family pictures. but the moment I really understood came when I was 16. I came home early from school one day. They did not hear me walk in. My parents were in the kitchen and they were fighting. I stood in the hallway frozen. My father's voice was sharp angry. "I never wanted a third one. You insisted on keeping him." My mother was crying. "He is still our son Douglas." He was a mistake. My father's words were so cold. "The older I get, the more I regret not stopping you." I backed out of the house as quietly as I had entered. I sat in my car for 2 hours before I could go back inside. That night at dinner, they acted like nothing had happened. Blake talked about his college acceptances. Aaron shared some story about his internship. I pushed food around my plate and said nothing. And from that moment on, I knew exactly where I stood. I tried everything to prove I was worth their attention. I studied harder than both my brothers ever did. I graduated high school with honors. I got a full-ride scholarship to Texas A&M for mechanical engineering. I thought maybe, just maybe, that would make my father proud. He came to my graduation, sat in the back left before the reception. Blake's graduation 2 years later got a party with 200 guests. I finished college with a 3.9 GPA. Got recruited by a major energy company in Dallas right out of school. Good salary benefits, real career potential. I called my father to tell him. He said, "At least you can support yourself now," and hung up. That was it. No congratulations. No pride in his voice. Just relief that I would not be his problem anymore. So I moved to Dallas, got an apartment, threw myself into my work. I called home on holidays, kept it brief. Showed up for Christmas and Thanksgiving because that is what you are supposed to do. But every single time I felt like a guest in that house. Like I was intruding on their real family. 2 years went by like that. Then my mother called. Her voice had this strange brightness to it, almost forced. "Gerard, honey, we are having a big family reunion next month. Everyone is coming. Your Uncle Frank, Aunt Linda, all the cousins, even your father's brother from California. It would mean so much if you could be there." I should have said no. Every instinct told me to make up an excuse. But some pathetic part of me still hoped. Still thought maybe this would be the time things changed. Maybe with all those people around, my father would treat me differently. Maybe I would finally feel like I was part of something. "I will be there," I told her. I went out and bought gifts. A nice bottle of scotch for my father, something I knew he liked. A cashmere scarf for my mother. I got my car detailed, picked out a good shirt. I drove 4 hours from Dallas back to Houston on a Saturday morning, and the whole way there I was rehearsing conversations in my head. Normal things. How is work going? How is the company? How are you feeling? Just normal family stuff. When I pulled up to the house, the driveway was already packed. Cars everywhere. I had to park on the street 2 houses down. I could hear music and voices from inside. I grabbed the gifts from my trunk, took a deep breath, and walked up to the front door. The house was absolutely packed. People everywhere, kids running around, adults holding drinks, laughing, catching up. I recognized most of them. Cousins I had not seen in years, aunts and uncles, family friends. The caterers had set up tables of food in the dining room and the backyard. Blake was standing near the fireplace with his wife and their 2 kids. He was telling some story, everyone laughing. Aaron was out back by the pool with a group of cousins, beer in hand. They both glanced at me when I walked in. Blake gave me a quick nod. Aaron raised his beer slightly. That was it. I made my way through the crowd. A few people said hello, but it was brief distracted. Most of them did not really know me. Why would they? I was never at these things growing up. I found a spot near the kitchen out of the way and grabbed a glass of water from the counter. My mother was busy directing the caterers. She saw me, smiled, mouthed, "So glad you are here." But she was gone before I could respond. My father was in the center of the living room holding court. He was in his element, surrounded by people telling stories about business, about his success, about his sons. I stayed where I was listening. Then my Uncle Frank, my father's younger brother, noticed me standing there. He walked over, shook my hand. "Gerard, good to see you. How long has it been?" "A while," I said. "Good to see you too." Frank turned back toward my father. "So, Douglas, all three of your boys here today?" The room did not go completely silent, but enough people nearby stopped talking and turned to look. My father looked over at me. Our eyes met, and I saw something in his face I had seen 1,000 times before. That slight annoyance, that flicker of resentment. He walked over, slow, deliberate. The crowd parted. He put his hand on Blake's shoulder first. "This is Blake, my eldest. CEO in training, following my footsteps perfectly, taking over the company in a few years." Blake stood a little taller. People nodded, impressed. Then my father moved to Aaron. "Aaron here, partner at Williams & Associates, making us proud every single day." Aaron smiled, raised his beer. People clapped lightly. Then my father turned to me. The pause felt like an eternity. I could feel everyone's eyes on me. My father's hand landed on my shoulder, but it was not warm. It was heavy, cold. "And this," he said, his voice loud enough for everyone to hear, "this is Gerard, the mistake we kept." I felt like I had been punched in the stomach. The room went completely still. A few people laughed nervously, like maybe it was a joke. But my father was not smiling. He just stood there, his hand still on my shoulder, looking at me like I was something he had scraped off his shoe. I looked around. Blake was staring at his phone. Aaron suddenly found something fascinating about the pool outside. My mother was in the kitchen doorway, frozen, her hand over her mouth, but she did not say anything. Not one word. Nobody defended me. Nobody said, "Hey, that is not okay." Nobody pulled my father aside and told him he was out of line. They just stood there. Some of them looked uncomfortable. Some looked away. But nobody did a damn thing. My hands started shaking. I set my glass down on the nearest table. I did not trust myself to speak. If I opened my mouth, I did not know what would come out. Rage, tears, something that would make this even worse. So I did the only thing I could do. I walked out. I went straight to my car. Nobody followed me. Nobody called my name. I got in, started the engine, and drove. I did not know where I was going at first. I just drove. The sun was setting by the time I hit the highway back to Dallas. The whole drive I could not stop replaying that moment. The mistake we kept, over and over, in front of 50 people, and nobody said a word. I got back to my apartment around midnight. I sat in my car in the parking lot for 20 minutes, staring at nothing. Then I went inside, opened my laptop, and made a decision. I was done. Not just done with that day. Not just done with my father. Done with all of it. Done trying to earn love from people who would never give it. Done being the burden, the afterthought, the mistake. I started putting together a plan. It took me 3 days to finalize everything, and once I started, I did not stop. This was not some impulsive breakdown. This was calculated, precise. I was going to disappear, and I was going to do it right. First, I started looking for jobs as far away from Texas as I could get. I applied to positions in Seattle, Portland, Denver, even a few in Boston. Within a week, I had 3 interviews lined up. 2 weeks later, I got an offer from a renewable energy company in Portland, Oregon. The salary was better than what I was making in Dallas. The position was a step up. I accepted immediately. Then I started liquidating my life. I sold my furniture on Craigslist, sold my second TV, my bike, anything I did not absolutely need. I kept my clothes, my laptop, some books, a few personal items. Everything fit into the back of my SUV with room to spare. I broke my lease, paid the penalty, did not care. I closed my bank account at the local branch and opened a new one with a national bank that had branches in Oregon. The hardest part was cutting off contact. I sat at my kitchen table with my phone and went through every single contact. I blocked my father's number, then my mother's, then Blake, then Aaron, then every aunt, uncle, cousin, family, friend. Anyone who had been at that house who had heard what my father said and done nothing. Blocked. All of them. I deleted my Facebook account entirely. My Instagram. My LinkedIn was the only thing I kept, but I changed the settings so nobody could see my location or contact me directly. I changed my phone number, got a new one with an Oregon area code. I did not give it to anyone from my old life. Not one person. 3 weeks after that reunion, I loaded up my car and left Dallas. I did not tell my landlord where I was going. I did not leave a forwarding address, I just drove. It took me 3 days to get to Portland, and I stopped at cheap motels along the way. I did not post about it. I did not take pictures. I just drove and thought about what my new life was going to look like. Portland was nothing like Texas. It rained constantly, but I did not mind. The city was green quiet, full of people who did not know me and did not care where I came from. I found a small apartment in northeast Portland, nothing fancy, but it was mine. 1 bedroom, clean, affordable. I signed the lease, moved in, and started my new job the following Monday. The first month was lonely. I am not going to lie about that. I went to work, came home, ate dinner alone, went to bed. Repeat. But it was a different kind of lonely than I had felt my entire life. This was not the lonely of being surrounded by people who did not want you. This was just the quiet of starting over. And honestly, it felt better. By the 3rd month, I started to find my rhythm. I was good at my job. Really good. My boss noticed. I started getting more responsibility, better projects. I was designing energy systems for commercial buildings, the kind of work I actually cared about. People respected my ideas. They listened when I talked. It was such a strange feeling at first being valued. I joined a hiking group through a community board at a coffee shop. That is where I met Kyle, a software engineer who had moved to Portland from California. Then Marcus, a high school teacher. Then Jenna, a graphic designer who made me laugh harder than I had in years. We started hiking every other weekend. Mount Hood, Silver Falls, the Columbia River Gorge. These people did not know anything about my family. They did not know I was the mistake, the unwanted one. They just knew me as Gerard, the guy who always brought extra trail mix and told terrible jokes on long climbs. Around the 6-month mark, something shifted. I woke up one Saturday and realized I had not thought about my father in over a week. I had not wondered if my mother tried to call. I had not checked to see if Blake or Aaron tried to reach out, because they had not. None of them had, and I did not care any more. By the end of my first year in Portland, I got promoted to senior engineer. 30% raise. My boss took me out to celebrate, told me I was one of the most reliable people on the team. I bought myself a small condo, nothing huge, but it was mine. I painted the walls colors I liked. I hung up pictures of mountains and forests, things that made me happy. No family photos, no reminders. I started taking classes at a local community college just for fun. I learned how to make pour over coffee. I took a pottery class and made the ugliest mug you have ever seen, but I loved it. I tried yoga, hated it, but kept going because Jenna convinced me it was good for me. I was building a life, a real one where I mattered. The second year was even better. I got promoted again, this time to lead engineer. I was managing a team of 8 people. The company gave me a significant bonus. I paid off my car. I started saving real money for the first time in my life. And then I met Samantha. She was an architect. We met at a networking event, one of those awkward professional mixers where everyone stands around pretending to enjoy warm white wine. We started talking about sustainable building design and did not stop for 2 hours. She was smart, funny, kind. She did not care that I drove a 10-year-old SUV or that my condo was small. We started dating, and it was easy. No games, no drama. Just 2 people who liked being around each other. Samantha and I spent weekends exploring Oregon. We camped near Crater Lake. We drove up to Seattle for a long weekend. We cooked dinner together, watched terrible movies, talked about everything except my past. Because she did not ask and I did not offer. She knew I was not close with my family, and she respected that. She did not push. That is how I knew she was different. 2 years, 730 days. I had not spoken to a single member of my family. I had not seen their faces except in memories I tried hard to forget. I had built an entirely new life, and it was good. Better than good. I was happy. Actually, genuinely happy. And I did not owe that happiness to anyone but myself. Then, one Saturday morning, everything caught up with me. I was at home making coffee in my kitchen. Samantha was still asleep in the bedroom. It was one of those perfect, quiet mornings where the rain was coming down soft outside, and everything felt peaceful. Then my doorbell rang. I was not expecting anyone. I put down my coffee mug and went to the door. I looked through the peephole and saw a man I did not recognize. Middle-aged, wearing a suit, holding a briefcase. I opened the door halfway. "Can I help you?" I asked. He smiled, but it was professional practiced. "Gerard, my name is Martin Hayes. I am a private investigator. Your family hired me to find you." I felt my stomach drop. For a second, I could not speak. I just stared at him. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a business card, handed it to me. It had his name, a phone number, an address in Seattle. "They have been looking for you for 6 months," Martin continued. His voice was calm, like he had this conversation 100 times before. "They want to talk." "Who hired you?" I managed to ask. My voice sounded strange in my own ears. "Your mother," he said. "She paid me $10,000 to locate you. Took me 4 months, but I'm good at what I do." $10,000. My mother, who never stood up for me once in my entire life, paid a stranger $10,000 to find me. I did not know whether to laugh or slam the door in his face. "What do they want?" I asked. Martin shifted his weight. He looked almost uncomfortable now. "They say they need to apologize. Your father is sick, cancer, stage 3. He wants to make amends before it is too late." Cancer, stage 3. My father was dying. The man who called me a mistake in front of 50 people was dying, and now he wanted to make amends. I stood there feeling 1,000 things at once. Anger, sadness, something that might have been grief, but I was not sure for what. "How long does he have?" I heard myself ask. They did not say exactly, but your mother made it sound urgent. I looked down at the business card in my hand. Martin Hayes, private investigator. It felt surreal, like something out of a movie. But this was real. This man had tracked me across the country because my family suddenly decided I mattered. "She cries every day," Martin added quietly. "Your mother, she told me that. Said she has not stopped crying since you left." I felt something twist in my chest. Part of me wanted to feel sorry for her. Part of me wanted to get in my car and drive straight back to Texas and tell her it was going to be okay. But the bigger part of me, the part that had spent 28 years being treated like I did not matter, that part stayed cold. "Where was she when he called me a mistake?" I asked. My voice was steady now. Where was she when I needed a mother to stand up for me? Where was she every single birthday? Every Christmas, every moment I felt like I did not belong in my own family? Martin did not answer. He just stood there. "I appreciate you coming all this way," I said. "I really do. But I need you to tell them something for me." He nodded, pulled out a small notebook. "Tell them I forgive them," I said. "I really do. I do not hate my father. I do not hate my mother or my brothers. But forgiveness does not mean I have to let them back into my life. Some bridges are burned for a reason. I have built something here, something good. And I am not giving that up." Martin wrote something down, then looked up at me. "Are you sure your father does not have much time?" "I am sure," I said. "Tell my mother I am fine. Tell her I am happy. Tell her I wish them all well, but this chapter is closed." Martin studied my face for a moment, then nodded slowly. "I will tell them. Take care of yourself, Gerard." "You too," I said. I closed the door and stood there for a long moment staring at the business card in my hand. Then I walked over to the trash can and dropped it in. I went back to the kitchen, poured my coffee, and sat down at the table. Samantha came out a few minutes later, still in her pajamas, hair messy. "Who was that?" she asked, yawning. "Nobody important," I said. She looked at me closer. "You okay?" I thought about it, really thought about it, and I realized I was. "Yeah," I said, "I really am." That afternoon, Samantha and I went hiking with Kyle, Marcus, and Jenna up at Silver Falls. We spent the whole day outside, laughing, talking, just being present. I stood at the edge of one of the waterfalls looking out over the valley, and I felt something I had never felt before. Peace. Real deep peace. Not because I had fixed things with my family. Not because I had gotten closure or an apology, but because I had chosen myself. And that was enough. A few months later, my mother sent a letter to my workplace. I do not know how she found out where I worked, but she did. The envelope was addressed to me, her handwriting on the front. I stared at it for a full minute before I opened it. Inside was a single piece of paper. "Your father passed away last Tuesday. The funeral is Saturday. I hope you can find it in your heart to come home. Love, Mom." I read it 3 times. Then I folded it up, put it back in the envelope, and put it in my desk drawer. I did not go to the funeral. I did not call. But I did send flowers. White roses. The card said, "Rest in peace." That was all. I did not feel guilty about not going. I did not feel relieved that he was gone. I just felt neutral. Like a chapter of a book I read a long time ago had finally ended, and I had already moved on to a better story. Samantha asked me once if I regretted cutting off my family. We were sitting on the couch in my condo, her head on my shoulder, some movie playing that neither of us was really watching. "No," I said, and I meant it. You do not owe anyone your presence just because you share blood. You do not owe anyone forgiveness if they never earned it. And you definitely do not owe anyone access to the life you built for yourself. She squeezed my hand. I am proud of you. For what? For knowing your worth. I am 30 now. Samantha and I got engaged last month. Nothing fancy, just the two of us on a hiking trail at sunset, and I asked her with a ring I saved up for. She said yes before I even finished the sentence. We are planning a small wedding, just close friends. Kyle is going to be my best man. Jenna is helping Samantha with the planning. Marcus is going to officiate because he got ordained online as a joke, and now it is real. My career is solid. I got promoted again last year. I manage a department now. I mentor younger engineers. I am good at what I do, and people respect me for it. I bought a house, a real house with a yard and a garage. I planted a garden. I adopted a dog, a rescue mutt named Charlie, who follows me everywhere. I have a life, a full one, a happy one, and none of it has anything to do with the family I was born into. All of it has to do with the family I chose. The people who saw me for who I am and decided I was worth keeping around. Not because they had to, because they wanted to. Sometimes I think about that reunion, about standing in that living room hearing my father call me a mistake in front of all those people. It used to make me angry. Then it made me sad. Now it just makes me grateful. Because that moment, as painful as it was, gave me permission to leave, to stop trying, to let go of people who were never going to love me the way I needed to be loved. I do not talk to my mother. I do not talk to Blake or Aaron. I do not know what their lives look like now, and I do not need to know. They made their choice a long time ago, and I made mine. If you are watching this and you have ever felt like the outsider in your own family, like you do not quite fit, like you are the one everyone tolerates but does not truly love, I want you to know something. You are not the problem. You never were. Some people are incapable of seeing your value, and that is on them, not you. You do not have to keep showing up for people who make you feel small. You do not have to keep trying to earn love that should have been freely given. Walk away if you need to. Build something new. Surround yourself with people who celebrate you, not people who tolerate you. It is going to be hard. It is going to hurt. But I promise you, on the other side of that pain is a kind of freedom you cannot even imagine right now. I found my people. I found my place. And if I can do it, so can you. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever had to walk away from toxic family members? How did you find the strength to do it? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and share it with someone who might need to hear it. Subscribe if you want more real-life stories like this one. Thank you for listening, and I hope you find the peace you deserve wherever your journey takes you.